How is HIV in Birmingham and how is it compared to other cities?
HIV is bad in Birmingham. HIV is bad in Alabama. In fact, HIV is bad throughout the entire southeastern United States. If you look at HIV compared to other states in the United States, there are 4 times concentration more patients with HIV in our area than, say, in Wyoming or in Colorado, perhaps. And so the point is that we really have to be extra vigilant. We have to be really on our toes about this. So you may say, why? What's really interesting, and I don't know exactly how this goes hand in hand, but if you take a picture of the United States and you map the highest density, I would call it, or concentration of people with HIV, you'll see the southeastern United States just light up. Then you take another map and you look at poverty, and the southeastern United States lights up. And you layer those 2 things together and you see HIV where there is poverty. I don't know exactly why that is. It could be because it's a disease of people disproportionately who have less money. I don't know, but those are facts. And what we have to do is redouble our efforts to get messaging out there. We can't make somebody who doesn't have a lot of money suddenly have a lot of money, but what we can do is get a message that HIV is here in our community, and we have to be smart about it, and we have to protect ourselves. That's imperative.
And I know that the black community, we don't make up as much as the population, but we do make up a lot of the new cases for HIV and AIDS. And I just wonder why. I mean, I don't have an answer. I was just can you help me on why it's so heavy in the black community?
I don't know the answer, but I have a couple of insights. One came from Reverend Porter, who very big leader in the civil rights movement, and I asked him that exact question. I said, what's up with this? And he said, Dr. Sag, the black community has been through so much, that the civil rights movement, certainly before that they just don't want to deal with any more bad news. This is just one more thing that's coming at them. And so they just would not like it to be there. That's the first thing. Second thing is that it's a sexually transmitted disease. And everyone has sex. This isn't unique to the black community, white community, any community. Everyone has sex. But it seemed to be concentrated more in the black community early on. And some of that, in my opinion, is because way back in the day, in the early 80s, maybe the 70s, there were people having sex, transmitting the virus. It got into the community, and then once it got there, it just kept spreading. And so it was a head start. And I don't know exactly why, but the fact is, there is a disproportionate amount of people with HIV in the black community. And what that tells us for today, how do we translate that? We can wring our hands about it and say this is terrible, and it is. But for the person on the street, the people who are listening to this, it just means protect yourself. Understand it's there. Learn about HIV. Find out the facts. Sure, you can have sex. It's cool. Everyone should have sex. It's fine. I don't care if you're having sex with another guy or with a woman or with a bunch of people. I don't care, but just protect yourself, right? Protect yourself. Use condoms, because this is out there. The other message is, okay, you mess up a little bit. Let's say you get HIV. If you got HIV, you got to know it, so get tested frequently. If you're having lots of different sexual partners, get tested once a year. Find out if you got it. If you don't, great, redouble your efforts to protect. But ultimately, what you want to do, if you get tested and you get positive, get into care, because we can do so much to keep people alive for a normal lifespan. And, oh, by the way, they won't transmit the virus to anybody else. That's what we have to do as a community. And that's why I'm excited about this chance to talk with you, because we can get this message out there.
Another question I have for you, Dr. Sag, with all the people having HIV, how many of them do you think do not know their status?
This is one of the most important questions, because if we, let's say, have 100 people in Birmingham who have HIV, 1 in 4 don't know their status. So that means 75 know it, and they're doing pretty cool. I mean, they got tested, they're treated, they're in care, and hopefully if they're in care, their virus is undetectable, they'll live a normal lifespan. They won't infect anyone else. That 25, those are the ones that tear me up as a doctor. Because what happens is they got the virus, sure enough, right? And it's doing its bad business in them, And over a period of 5, 10, 15 years, they get really sick. Then they show up in our emergency room at University Hospital really sick, come to the intensive care unit. They may survive, but more times than not, they die. That is a failure of our system. That means we fail getting a message out that everyone should be tested. Because if you got it, you got it. You can't change that. But what you can change is that if you got it and you know you got it, then you can prevent death by getting into care, getting treatment, and not having that episode where you show up in the emergency room on death's doors. I can't tell you how much this has torn me up in recent years when I see a 22-year-old, a 23-year-old, their whole life in front of them, and they're dying from AIDS because our system failed of getting a simple message out that all they had to do is get tested and get into care. That's what we need to do now, urgently, today, yesterday.
One of the questions I really wanted to ask you, with HIV and AIDS being such a sensitive subject, what do you think gonna be like to get more people to really talk about it, to want to talk about it? Because I know from my experience, I took health in high school, and I don't think we touched on it not once for like a whole semester.
Yeah. People are afraid of AIDS. Back in the 80s, I called it another disease called afraids, which is acute fear of AIDS, right? Everyone freaked out because they didn't want to have it, and they were worried that if they were around somebody who had it, they'd get it, right? So that's the first thing, and that tradition has even continued to today. Secondly, people are afraid of what they don't know. So if something's out there and it's kind of scary, they just want to stay away from it. Maybe it'll just go away. It never is going to affect me, so why do I need to know? That's the second thing. But the third thing is just overall stigma. Stigma. Because people have sex, right? It's part of life. It's like you eat, you can have sex. It goes together, right? But people feel bad about if they have sex sometimes. Or something in our society kind of makes people feel like if I have sex, I'm doing something wrong. So I ain't talking about that. So the problem that we're facing, and the thing that I've been fighting my entire career as I've been in this, is fighting against that resistance to have people openly talk about sex, openly talk about if people are using drugs or not, openly talk about sexually transmitted infections, which includes things like syphilis and gonorrhea and herpes, the clap, whatever you want to call it. Those things are around. And we have to be able to be open and talk about it if we're going to conquer it. Why? Because it's here. It's just frickin' here. And not knowing about it, not talking about it, doesn't make it go away. What'll make it go away is everybody being aware and being responsible for ourselves. Making sure that if we're having sex, that's cool, but just use protection. Use a condom. Know how to use a condom. And you can't look at somebody and know if they got HIV or not. That don't work. You can't just look at somebody and say, that guy has it and that one doesn't. They may have it, they may not. So using a condom will help not only prevent transmission of HIV, but other sexually transmitted diseases as well.
Thank you, Dr. Sad, for having us. And in the words of my man, Dr. Sad, learn about HIV, get tested, and if you do test positive, get help, stay treated, and protect yourself.